Glad to have you this morning, the 20th day of March 2025, on Good Morning Anambra this morning. My name is Ajuluchukwu Okabwe.
My name is Nonya Nwokoye. It's good to have you on the show this morning. Hope you had a wonderful night rest. All right, we did, and we are so delighted to be here this morning. Thank you so much for joining us.
Glad to have you back, and we begin the Good Morning Anambra show this morning with the press review, starting with the news making rounds on ABS website. And the very first news we have for you is a Soludo flags off road project in Orifite. Jubilation as Soludo inaugurates project at Okpoko. ABGA women leader in Anambra State, Onyekesi, lauds Soludo on gender-friendly policies. And also we have Anambra State government reiterates resolve to eliminate tuberculosis and brewing ulcer and leprosy. National Youth Leader Ogbako Ndibo Nine also rates Soludo high on youth program empowerment. And we have Anambra State Amalgamated Traders Association Women's Sports Competition ends in Onitsha. Former Ohaneze Ndibo VP KK Ogene urges investors to explore emerging opportunities in Anambra State. 2025 President Federation Cup Solution FC through to round 32. Federal government justifies declaration of state of emergency in Rivers State. Adamawa and Taraba Customs intercept PMS worth over 72.6 million naira. On the foreign scene, we have Turkish authorities arrest Istanbul mayor days before becoming presidential candidate. Also, on the foreign scene, 6 migrants die, 40 missing after a boat mishap in Mediterranean Sea. That's all we have for you on ABS website this morning.
All right, we move to the first paper for review this morning, which is the Daily Sun newspapers. On the Daily Sun, we have reverse emergency. Temper flares in NAS with riders. Senate fails to get majority to approve emergency rule. Steps down business for today. Reps in rowdy session failed to muster required number to act. And price surge imminent as Dangote refinery halts petrol sale in Naira. Fubara knocks kudos trail Tinubu's action. PDP governors attack president demand reversal. Peter Obi, governors removal reckless, unconstitutional. Rivers elders reject emergency rule. INC PAP call for calm, peace. And of course, that's the much we have. Okay, that's the much we have coming from. Okay, we have other stories of Ebola predicting landslide victory for Tinubu in 2027. Court vacates order declaring Natasha's suspension as void. Correctional centers inmates in terrible conditions. Panel speaking. Ibas takes oath of office as Rivers administrator. Suspended governor. Teleguided militants to blow up pipeline. AGF speaking. All right, that's the much coming from the Daily Sun.
And up next for review this morning is the Daily Times newspaper. And we're still talking about the issue in Rivers State. The banner headline is screaming, Tinubu swears in administrator as Ibas vow to restore peace. And also we have the riders there saying, Senate steps down motion till today, reps fail to endorse over quorum. And we have NDA declares action unconstitutional. And then we have also 2027 Tinubu will win landslide. Okpebolo declares as 17th chairman, dump PDP for APC in Edo. Well, say congratulations to him there. Akpabio told me he liked my waist. Natasha.
Yeah.
Okay, Shetima tax lawmakers on food security legislation. And also we have troops rescue 101 kidnapped victims in Katsina and Zamfara. And so we have the editorial commentary talking about declaration of state of emergency and suspension of elected officials. The recent declaration of state of emergency in Rivers State by President Bola Tinubu and the suspension of elected state officials, including Governor Similaye Fubara, his deputy, Professor Ngozi, and members of the State Assembly, has continued to generate debate among lawyers, politicians, and the citizens generally. And then at the mast, we have be impartial in Nnamdi Kanu's trial. Igbo war veterans urge justice on Motosho.
Up next is the Vanguard newspaper with emergency rule in Rivers. FG governors disagree with riders there. A lot of riders. Wike has no role in political crisis. AGF alleges Fubara teleguided militants to blow up pipelines. Tinubu can't appropriate such powers to himself. Amechi. No justification for state of emergency. Senator Dixon. Your action unconstitutional. NBA tells Tinubu it's unwarranted. Premeditated attack on Rivers opposition. PDP governors. Ibok Eteb Ibas sworn in promises to restore law order in Rivers. NLC TUC to Tinubu reverse emergency rule. Illegality of dissolving elected democratic structure. Falana speaking. And of course, other stories making their headlines this morning on Vanguard. 2026 World Cup race, 3 points against Rwanda, non-negotiable. Super Eagles speaking. Protest rocks Ondo as armed herdsmen kill 5 farmers. Policeman, 11 militia gang members killed in Benue community. And of course, audit panel to FG, our prisons in deplorable condition. Oboroweri, Wasima, others advocate measures to strengthen local content drive. And that's just about it on the Vanguard newspaper.
Up next for review this morning is the Punch newspaper. And we're still talking about the Rivers emergency rule. The banner headline is saying, federal government deploys 10,000 troops against vandals as opposition, NLC protest. And then we have fresh explosion in Rivers, PDP protest as AGF, APC threaten emergency rule extension. And we have at the mast of the Punch newspaper, Naira for crude, fuel prices hike looms as Dangote, NNPCL talks store. Minimum wage, NYSC to spend 307.6 billion naira on corpus mobilization. Stop military attacks on discos, Adelabu tells NSA. Sanwo-Olu, the state governor of Lagos, unveils new block of classrooms in Ikorodu. Police confirm deaths of inspector, 12 gunmen in fierce battle. Mohbad's brother, friend arrested outside Lagos court. PDP tackles APC as Kogi constituents begin Natasha's recall.
On the Daily Independent, we have these stories. State of emergency. FG warns states where Nigeria's economic interest is at risk. Daily Independent paper, that's what we are looking at now. It says Fubara teleguided militants to blow up oil facilities. Rivers Toll administrator may get state withheld allocation. Emergency rule affront on Nigeria's constitution. That's coming from Amechi. Now, fuel price hike looms as Dangote suspends sales in Naira. Tension as NAS fails to consider reverse emergency rule. PHRC fully operational, producing refined products. That's coming from NNPCL. Other stories, FCTA to possess 4,794 revoked properties over unpaid ground rent. Rivers Sole Administrator Ibas takes oath of office. Now, Fubara calls for calm amid Rivers emergency rule. State Assembly hails Tinubu's declaration. FG unjustly punishing Rivers people, state CSOs. Youth urge PDP governors to challenge action in court. Emergency rule meant to capture Rivers South in 2027. That's coming from the PDP. With a right that their party governors ask Tinubu to reverse action. Now, protesters storm Ondo governor's office over fresh killing of 5 farmers by herdsmen.
Next, for review this morning is the Guardian newspaper, and we have the banner headline, Stalled Naira for Crude Deal, Imminent End to Subsidized Petrol as FX PMS face major disruption. Many fear dead, cars burnt as tanker explosion rocks Abuja. Federal government dismisses WHO report, that's WHO, report on stock out of essential HIV drugs. And we have PDP denies connection, party funding.
SDP,
I beg your pardon, denies connection, party funding by Tinubu. Shetima attacks lawmakers on food security legislations. And also we have the federal government's Read Riot Act to state as Nigerians use state of emergency in rivers. Working group submit reports as seeks urgent help for correctional centers. And then at the mast there we see Natasha, constituents reject sham. Recall process as Kogi Rec dismisses rumor. We have EFCC arrest Bauchi AG. Orders over 70 billion naira fraud. Wow, that's interesting.
All right, moving on now, we move to the next paper for review, which is the Daily Trust newspaper. On the Daily Trust, we have these stories. Fuel price may rise as Naira for crude deal stalls. Experts seek government intervention. Rivers crisis, emergency rule can be overturned. That's coming from Yadudu, with the rider there. Overrule Tinubu, NNPP, LP, others tell National Assembly. Many fear dead as tanker explodes on Abuja Road. Poor sanitation, others push meningitis. Deaths to 55 in Kebbi. EFCC arrest Bauchi AG over alleged 70 billion naira fraud. And that's the much we have on the Daily Trust newspaper.
Next is the Nigerian Tribune for review this morning. Outrage as emergency rule kicks off in Rivers. And the rider NBA, Southern Middle Belt leaders, Labour, PDP governors Amechi Obi orders fault president. And we have Dangote refinery suspend sale of petrol in Naira. Tanker explosion shuts down Abuja Kefi Expressway. EFCC arrests Bauchi Accountant General for alleged 70 billion naira fraud. Protesters shot Ondo governor's office over killing of another 5 farmers by suspected herdsmen. 11 bandits, 1 policeman killed in gun duel in Benue. That's all we have for you on the Nigerian Tribune.
On the blueprint, we have death toll in Kebbi. Meningitis outbreak rises to 56. FG dispatches 3,000 doses of vaccines. We have also troops neutralize 10 terrorists, rescue 101 kidnapped victims in Katsina, Zamfara. Now, many fear dead as CNG tanker explodes in Abuja. On business news, 20 new millionaires emerge from Fidelity Bank Game 6 promo. World Cup qualifiers, we have to stop Osimhen, says Rwandan spokesman. Okay, other stories are why FG will release Rivers allocation to administrator coming from Fagbemi. Now, Defense Tinubu clears Wike over emergency order. NLC, NBA, PDP, Amechi, others seek reversal. I'll maintain law and order, Ebas reassures. Benue, police kill 11 suspected militia. They lose something. Nigeria records 28 new Lassa fever cases. No explosion at Port Harcourt refinery. And you begin to wonder, where was this video emanating from? The video circulating in the social media. And one will always say, believe the social media to your own peril.
Of course, of course. It's very, very annoying to see things like that. I saw the video when it was trending yesterday, and from the look of things, I said the Nigerian, I mean the NNPC, the refinery at Port Harcourt, can't have this singular funnel of smoke. So to me, I didn't even make anything out of the video that I saw. But then, they say no smoke without fire. So there have been other issues of explosions here.
You know, I've always said this, you know, sharing things on the social media, don't be an agent of, you know, doom. Because something is already happening in Rivers State. So what's your gain? What do you stand to gain by sharing such? It's just like the other video they shared, the old video where the governor of Rivers State, Fubara, was being, you know, tear gas was everywhere, water was being splashed on him. Somebody shared that same video yesterday talking about that this is happening now. I mean, how can you be doing such a thing? You know, pouring fuel upon fire that is already burning. I don't think that's right. You are part of the problem if you go ahead to do that kind of a thing. Okay, now there's this story on the papers. It's repeated severally, you know, selling of fuel in dollars now. You know, and I don't know what actually is going on in Nigeria. In a country where Naira is their currency, you are selling petrol in dollars. So that means we should not buy again.
You're selling
the crude
to the person that is going to process it into PMS, DPK, and AGO in
Naira.
You know,
He will now refine and sell in dollars.
No, he will sell in Naira, but he wants to buy in dollars. So however this thing, I believe there must have been a concession or an agreement that this is how it's going to be before now. So now the NNPC is now saying, no, we want to deal on Naira. But then probably maybe Dangote will be wondering that Naira isn't steady. So at the long run, I might be the one losing. There is some form of stability.
Make it stable now. You are amongst the elites we have in the country. Look for something that will make the Naira to be stable.
It doesn't happen just with a flash of wave of the hand.
There is no excuse. There is no excuse to be in a country, because you can't tell me that United States of America, that you can see anywhere they are selling things in Naira. Even Nigerians that live there. Yeah. Have you ever seen them sell things in Naira?
But we're talking about the mainstay of Nigerian economy. I'm not trying to do business for any person here. But I'm just trying to make it the reason why Dangote doesn't want to deal.
There's no excuse.
In dollar is because he believes that Naira isn't stable.
I don't think there's any excuse for you to be in a country where Naira is their currency and you're selling in dollars. Let's look at other stories, please, quickly. Let them go ahead and do that. Okay, which other stories?
There is a story about meningitis spreading in Kebbi. But as we all know, Nigeria, what happens in the north can easily, you know, happen down south. It doesn't take anything.
Even Lassa fever is out again.
Yeah, people travel and there's no restriction. We don't have border patrol, health officials across the borders to check for all of this. So seeing it in Kebbi State doesn't necessarily mean that within a couple of days we can't have it in the southern part of the country. So I want to believe that the NMA should begin to put in measures to make sure that we don't have an epidemic of meningitis in this part. And again, there's the vaccine for that. So people should be encouraged. You understand? There should be more public awareness on the need for people to get vaccinated against meningitis and the rest of it all. Not too long ago, we were talking about diphtheria, and now we're having meningitis. There is enough going on in the country, and relying on the few medical personnel, you understand, we have in Nigeria, I don't think we can afford any epidemic in this part of the world, sincerely speaking.
All
I
right.
don't think.
This story on the Daily Trust, actually, I watched the video on social media this morning before we came on air about that accident that happened along Abuja
Definitely.
Expressway. That's a terrible one. In fact, I was almost shedding tears looking at young men, able-bodied men. One, the two legs are off already, you know, and somebody was shouting that there are people in other vehicles. But there is something Nigerians keep doing in a situation where you see people in need.
In need
you
of
know,
help.
and not just
A
one.
few minutes can keep
You
somebody,
can
can
allow
save somebody's life.
one person to take the filming, while others to help to take the others to the hospital, so that they will be saved at least.
Lives can be saved.
Yes, but you see so many people taking shots,
bringing out their phones, and then
yes,
it's happening right now.
and
It's
people
happening
are
right now.
crying. You know, one
Being
man
helpless.
was there, honestly. So it's a terrible one. It's a terrible one. We don't pray for such accidents. But when it happens, please, if you're close by, instead of taking shots, why not try to stop a vehicle to take people to the hospital so that we see whether some lives could be saved from that incident. Our heart goes out to the families affected in that incident. Those that died, please, may God console their families. All right, other stories.
Yeah, federal government deploys 10,000 troops against vandals as opposition NLC protest. And that's as a result of what's happening in Rivers State. When you deploy 10,000 to a particular state, don't you mean you've compromised other parts of the country? Because in the same dailies, we are reading about what happened in, I think in Ondo State, where farmers were killed. You understand? 5 farmers were killed. And this could be as a result of losing manpower in order to man certain areas and then concentrating the bulk of, the police and then the NSDC, the civil defense, into Port Harcourt. Well, I think there are better ways to go about this issue because we shouldn't compromise the sovereignty and the safety of Nigerians in other parts of the country because of the crisis. I don't even know what crisis is even going on in Rivers State that warrants 10,000 troops to be deployed there.
Okay, on the blueprint, we have this story that's read troops neutralize 10 terrorists, rescue 101 kidnapped victims in Katsina, Zamfara. Before now, the last administration, before the Tinubu administration, told us that these bandits have been, neutralized. And till today, they're still neutralizing bandits. I don't know what are they telling us as a people. There is somebody I've been with sometimes, he doesn't watch Nigerian news. This could be as a result of talking from both sides of the mouth most of the time. You tell us one thing and another thing could be happening somewhere else. Coming out to tell Nigerians how it is, encouraging people to join hands with the government each time to fight whatever is fighting us. I think that will help than coming out to tell us you've done this. At the end of the day, it's still appearing in papers every day that they are neutralizing bandits when they have told us some 5 years ago that they've already neutralized them. All right, I don't know, other story?
Let's talk about this story, that's the one that the vice president is talking about, food sufficiency. I think that was captured in, I think, the Guardian newspaper. He's talking about Shetima tax lawmakers on food security legislations. Yeah, there was a video that I saw some time ago where some countries are beginning to go, the way of agricultural revolution, investment, because of the withdrawal of U.S. aid to most African countries. So I don't know when Nigeria will now have on their own agricultural revolution in order for us to be self-sufficient. Part of the reasons why they keep telling us that the food is expensive now is because the farmer herders clash
Just look at what is happening in is it Ondo Abi
Yeah,
of
yeah, yeah.
Hen?
You understand? So now,
What?
when things like this does happen, how many people will not have the encouragement to go to farm anymore? When it seems every nook and cranny in Nigeria now, you have cattle roaming aimlessly, destroying crops and, cash crops and the rest of it all. And these are the areas where we begin to talk about, I don't know if...
I don't know what actually is going on. There are things that should be handled. You are calling on food sufficiency, but we had issue of insecurity, which made farmers, not to go to farms, or even when they plant crops, their crops were destroyed. You don't want to tackle that, or you've not tried to tackle that to see that it ends and get farmers back to the farm. You are now telling lawmakers, what are they? Okay, lawmakers should go to the farm.
He said Shetima taxed lawmakers on food security legislations.
Okay.
So food security legislations probably, see, the issue with the shortage of food in this part of the world is multifaceted. From the area of farmers' headers clash, from the areas of not having accessible roads to the hinterlands, from the areas of funds not being allocated to the actual farmers, not political farmers, actual farmers that need this thing. And then irrigation, all year farming, and farming shouldn't be a thing that should be based in one part of the region.
My dear, real farmers are aware of all these things you're saying.
Yeah.
And this is not the first time. In Nigeria, I was born in Nigeria, raised in Nigeria. There has always been food, being transported from around the country.
Yeah.
And we have foods. When you go there are some states you will go to and see how cheap foods were. Until we started having issues of farmers' headers clash, and even raping people in farms and all whatnot. People ran for their lives, And believe me, some of the farmers may have left the country, if you don't know. We keep hearing about doctors leaving the country. Some farmers may have left, if not to the European countries, maybe some African countries too, where they will have access to farming. To farm and feed, of course, they'll be feeding the people they are farming in their area. So the issue here with farming is let them first of all, tackle the problem from the root. The root is that there are issues of farmers' headers clashes. Let them tackle it. Then all our farmers, they knew. There are people that farm close to waters. There's irrigation. There's been always all year round farming for some people that are into it. So it's not an issue with them. They know actually what to do. But let the government or people in positions of authority help them have a level playing ground to excel.
Well, I believe so, because it is very, very important. A nation that can't feed itself is already at the mercy of others that can dangle anything that looks like food, and then you begin to sell your natural assets. So we don't want Nigeria to descend to that level, and that's why we are urging the government to actually do more in that capacity. Oh,
okay. This story of Accountant General
in Bauchi
and the others, over 70 billion
alleged
naira fraud. All these allegations. This is not the first time we're hearing about allegation of fraud, by some people that are supposed to be accountable to their posts. But at the end of the day, you don't hear anything again about the issue. Once it flashes on the pages of paper,
was it not the other day we were talking about settlement out of court for fraud case? And I don't know, sometimes, who is EFCC accountable to for recovered funds?
Ajula, I fear for my country.
You understand? Because
I fear for this
who is
nation.
keeping track of these monies that have been recovered from people that looted it? And what is the punishment that, how many politicians or all these top civil servants
you see,
have you heard
all these things
these
things that are happening in Nigeria? My fear actually is about the upcoming generation. They are hearing these things. They are seeing them happen. And you will agree with me that we have some issues in places of work where people, you're supposed to be at work for a particular time, you won't be there on time, you walk in anytime you feel like. So what happens in the next 5-10 years when you must have risen to position of authority, you know? And we are crying today about what is happening. I don't know where or how we can go about it to see that this nation, you know, does not collapse completely or totally.
It's for us to do the needful in the little places we find ourselves. Nigeria, the way it is structured, you can contribute to the global success, let's say national success of Nigeria by doing the bit that you can where you find yourself. If what you know is not right, appropriate, don't do. It's as simple as that.
All right, we can work together to make our nation great. We have no other place to call our home. All right, that's just about it on the press review for this morning. We'd like to thank you so much for being a part of it. More coming up on Good Morning Anambra Show. Do stay with us.